Being a royal is super important. It's a big part of what the royal family and any future king or queen stands for. When the doors opened, William didn't wave. He just walked past Camilla's kids without even looking at them. His shoulders were straight and his jaw was tight. Every move he made showed everyone in the room what was going to happen. Camilla's family, the Parker Bowles, froze. No one said a word. In that quiet moment, the old way of the monarchy ended and a new one began. This was a big change. Prince William was different from how people had seen him before. He was relaxed, making jokes, drinking cider, and riding a scooter. But his first action wasn't a wave, it was a choice. He walked forward, ignoring the photographers who usually expected a royal to pause. He went straight to his spot without looking at the side of the room where Camilla's family was. People who had worked in Buckingham Palace for many years said they had never seen a Windsor act with such focused energy. He was in control, thinking many steps ahead. A high-ranking palace insider said everyone understood right away. This wasn't going to be like Charles's time as king. This was a fresh start. Camilla's family understood too. Tom, Laura, and the grandchildren, who had been included in royal events for years, watched William. He stepped into his role with a posture that made everything clear. Their special access wasn't guaranteed anymore. Their invitations weren't guaranteed. The kindness Charles had shown them for years now depended on a man who, by all accounts, wasn't warm on demand. Someone said Camilla's family was speechless. Not shocked in a showy way, but silent like people are when they realize everything has changed for them. Camilla's family realized what they had lost. The father of three, William, spoke honestly about how tough King Charles and Princess Kate's cancer fights had been, calling it his hardest year yet. That's what Camilla's family understood when William walked past them. Every special treatment they had under Charles was because he personally allowed it. It wasn't written in the rules or guaranteed by old customs. It was given by one man, and that man was no longer making the choices. For years, Camilla had quietly worked to bring her family into the royal inner circle. Her son, Tom, a respected food writer, was welcomed at royal events, which surprised many who watched the palace for a long time. Her daughter, Laura, was seen at private parties. Her grandchildren had special, informal access that many other royal family members never got. All of this was based on one idea, that once Camilla was queen, her position would stay strong. William's first appearance showed that this idea was no longer true. A source close to Camilla's family said the days after were filled with a kind of quiet worry. Calls were made, private talks happened, and they realized that the new king owed them nothing. Not kindness, not access, and not the special treatment they got during the last king's rule. Everything, invitations, official photos, titles, honors, was now completely up to William. William told a hesitant traveler that things would be different under his rule. A high-ranking royal source had warned for months that when Kate became queen, Camilla would be dependent on her. That warning, once thought of as just gossip, seemed true just hours after William's first official moment as king. And Camilla herself, people close to her say, had been ready for this for a long time. One source claimed that when Charles agreed to give William more power, Camilla was very sad. She didn't want this to happen, the source said. Not yet, not like this. What made Camilla's family's reaction so noticeable wasn't just their silence. It was how quickly they started thinking about what to do next. In just a few seconds, their important position, built over decades, started to fall apart. A source close to Camilla's inner circle described what happened. First, they noticed William walked past without acknowledging them. Then they understood this was not an accident. Then they started to figure things out. Who in their network still had access? Whose phone number still mattered? Which royal staff were still calling them back? By the time William finished his first formal speech, Camilla's family knew their place in the royal world had completely changed, and they had no clear way to change it back. One insider described it very clearly. Under Charles, Camilla's family was part of the story. Under William, they are a small side note. This change had been expected for years. What no one expected was how quickly and openly it would happen. William didn't just become king out of nowhere. He had already been doing the job in many ways. In early 2024, Buckingham Palace announced that Charles had cancer. From that moment, William steadily and calmly took on more responsibility. He did royal events Charles couldn't manage anymore. He made decisions that guided the royal family's future. A well-connected source told a royal newsletter that Charles was expected to give William more responsibility in a calm and dignified way, and that this had been planned quietly for months. By the time William stepped out as king, he had been acting like one for longer than most people knew. That's why his first appearance was so important. The man who walked out that morning wasn't learning the job. He was taking a title he had already been fulfilling. That's what Camilla's family saw when they went silent. Not just a ceremony, but a confirmation of what was already happening. For most of modern history, a queen consort, the king's wife, would expect her role to quietly fade after her husband's time as king. Camilla, by all accounts, never saw herself as a side note. She had waited decades for her title. She had created her own projects, her own influence, and her own connections inside the palace. Giving up that power felt very premature to her. A royal source described Camilla as someone who truly values her duties. She had always wanted to be queen. And the feeling that William and Kate were becoming the monarchy's new powerful couple reportedly left her feeling left out, upset, and, as one insider said, deeply angry. That anger turned into open conflict during the Prince Andrew situation. When William and Kate pushed for Andrew to leave Royal Lodge, a property near their home, Camilla felt surprised and ignored. One insider said clearly, she felt the Waleses had made a big power move and completely left her out of the decision. Whether or not William and Kate meant to do this, the feeling within Camilla's circle was clear. They had taken control, and Camilla felt like she was just watching in her own home. It wasn't just Andrew. William wanted to keep the York family, Andrew's family, out of the public eye until after Charles's next health check. Charles believed the family needed to show they were healing publicly. This decision reportedly surprised royal staff and upset William, who thought the Yorks were politically troublesome. The disagreement between the old ways and the new ways was clear, and Camilla, despite her influence with Charles, kept finding herself on the losing side. The fight between Kate and Camilla reached a breaking point. William's rise to power can't be told without Kate. Camilla's decrease in power is, in many ways, connected to Kate's growing importance. Many sources say the relationship between Kate and the woman formerly known as Queen Camilla is becoming a very bitter fight. The two women haven't been able to be in the same room for longer than needed. Royal staff have quietly been changing schedules to keep them apart, and the tension became very clear during an important state visit earlier this year. According to insiders, the mood during that visit was tense from the start. Every action, every dress choice, every small detail of royal rules felt important. Kate got everyone's attention. She took charge in welcoming important visitors. She held the spotlight in a way that showed something had changed, and Camilla, according to palace sources, noticed right away. One insider said Camilla was especially upset by a state dinner during that visit. She believed Kate's choice of tiara, a royal crown, sent a very important message. That message, as Camilla understood it, was that it wouldn't be long before Kate became queen. To an outsider, a tiara might seem small, but inside the palace, where every accessory is closely watched and every choice of rule carries meaning, it was an impossible signal to miss. What followed the tiara moment, according to sources, was a week of very cold communication between their two households. Staff were told to send some messages through different ways. Joint appearances that had been planned were quietly changed. A high-ranking assistant said the mood was the coldest it had been between Kate and Camilla in years, and noted that Kate, for her part, was no longer willing to make things better like she used to. The feud isn't about two women who don't like each other. At its heart is a real struggle for power and public image within a shrinking royal family. Neither woman has been willing to give in. All signs point to Kate winning clearly. Sources close to her say she believes Camilla needs to relax, that her behavior in public has repeatedly strained William's relationship with his stepmother. Kate's patience has run out, and William, according to those who have watched closely, has stopped helping Camilla. William's idea for a totally new monarchy. William hasn't just been getting ready to become king, he has been getting ready to change it. His first public appearance as king showed hints of what those changes will actually look like. In an interview earlier this year, William openly said that change is part of his plan, change for the better. He said he welcomes it, he doesn't fear it. He made it clear he wasn't planning anything too crazy, but he also said that some old traditions should be looked at to see if they are still important in today's world. Rebecca English, a royal writer for the Daily Mail, said that William expects less pomp and ceremony, not getting rid of old ways, but making simpler the things William thinks are old-fashioned. Shorter ceremonies, less fancy stuff, fewer feathers, less velvet. She added that William plans to make the royal household smaller, change how royal warrants, special titles given to companies, are given out, and always check if old practices are still right. While he plans to do fewer public events overall, he wants the ones he does to be truly meaningful. This is a move away from showy events like cutting ribbons and towards deeper, more important work. William himself talked about this idea in an interview in South Africa, where he said he wanted to do things differently for his generation. He imagines a monarchy that is easy to approach and talk to, rather than one hidden behind velvet ropes and expecting people to bow. A smaller role, as he put it, a more modern role. A source who spoke with a royal reporter summed up William's thinking. He plans carefully, not with feelings. He doesn't forget easily. He doesn't forgive easily. Crossing him can have big problems. This is very different from the kind of king Britain has been used to. And it's exactly this careful, no-nonsense way of thinking that has Camilla's circle very worried about what comes next. The Andrew problem was just the start. If you want to know how William will rule, look at how he handled Prince Andrew. That situation was his first big test as the unofficial leader of the monarchy. He dealt with it very strictly, which surprised even people who thought they knew him. While Charles reportedly wanted to give his brother the benefit of the doubt, William pushed for a strong action. He pushed for Andrew to be completely removed from public life. He refused to give up, even when other important royals advised caution. Charles led with his feelings. William leads with cold, hard practicality. In Andrew's case, William's view won. Former BBC royal reporter Jenny Bond noticed that William is determined to update the monarchy, clearly separating himself from Andrew and trying to connect with people from all walks of life. Royal author Robert Jobson agreed, saying that William is not likely to put up with anything bad that takes away from service. Jobson predicted William's rule will be more orderly and maybe more decided than his father's. The Andrew situation clearly showed the growing divide between William and Camilla. The effort to make Andrew leave Royal Lodge was seen by Camilla as a grab for power. And it wasn't just Andrew. Worries about Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie played out in similar ways, with William wanting to keep the York family out of the public eye while Charles preferred a more public approach. The pattern is impossible to ignore. Quick decisions, no tolerance for scandal, a willingness to put what William believes is best for the royal family above personal relationships, family loyalty, or old traditions. This is a very different way of leading than Britain has seen from the last two kings. People who watch the royals have pointed out the risks. A king willing to make tough decisions quickly can make things stable when there's pressure. A king who is seen as cold or mean can push away the very public the monarchy needs. William's belief, according to those who know him, is that the British public will ultimately prefer a modern king who acts quickly over an old-fashioned one who hesitates. His first appearance was the start of proving that. Early signs suggest the public is reacting exactly as he hoped. What the Andrew situation showed, and what his first appearance as king confirmed, is that William is ready to make decisions that cost him personally. He is ready to distance himself from members of his own family. He is ready to make choices his father would have thought about for weeks. He is ready to be disliked inside the palace to be effective outside it. That willingness, according to those who have studied the monarchy over different reigns, is rare. The last king or queen who ruled with similar practicality was, by some accounts, Queen Elizabeth II in the last decades of her rule. And even she made her decisions with a kindness William doesn't seem to have. For Camilla and her circle, that is the hardest part of the new reality, not that William dislikes them. Many people who have spoken to sources say he doesn't. The harder truth is that kindness will not be the reason for his decisions. Strategy will be. And strategy, as William has made clear, rarely rewards the old king's favorites. Kate, the secret weapon behind the throne. You can't talk about William becoming important or his first time as king without talking about Kate. According to almost every insider and royal expert who has talked about this change, she is the main support for everything. Royal author Russell Mayers told Hello magazine that Kate is very important for the monarchy to work. Her middle-class upbringing, he noted, helps her understand life outside the palace in a way William really values. Insiders have said that Kate supports her husband's idea of running the monarchy more like a modern organization than an old tradition. Their main goals are stability for their family and for the country. Kate is not just a supportive wife in the background. She is actively shaping the future of the monarchy. Royal expert Hilary Ford stressed that Kate will play a very important role as the royal family changes, especially as the Wales children get older. She is expected to become more and more influential behind the scenes. What really makes Kate special, what made her stand out during William's first appearance, is how strong she is. After dealing with her own cancer diagnosis and treatment, Kate returned to public life with a quiet determination that earned her a lot of public respect. She believes the monarchy needs to be united and have strong leadership during this tough time, and she has been working to keep that unity while also dealing with her own health problems. One insider described Kate as someone who has always supported William through months of hard talks and tough decisions. It was difficult for her. She didn't break down. She didn't give up. She became stronger. A royal expert in Hello magazine noted that the key to William and Kate's success is how strong their partnership is. They complete each other. They are giving their children a loving, stable childhood, and they are bringing long-term stability back to a royal family that has been in trouble in recent years. When William walked out as king for the first time, Kate was there. What people noticed most was how William and Kate moved together. No fake performance, no practiced dance, just a quiet, confident rhythm between two people who have spent 20 years preparing for this exact moment. Kate stood a little to the side, never trying to get more attention, but never fading either. Her presence, according to one royal reporter, was a reminder that this new monarchy would be led not by one king surrounded by staff, but by a true partnership. For Camilla's family, watching from the other side of the room, that partnership was the most upsetting image of the whole event. Because it meant there was no space for them to fit in, no lonely king needing advice from a queen's wife, no single decision-maker they could try to influence, just two people who had already made all the decisions together, and who had not thought about Camilla's family at all in those decisions. One palace source described the weeks before William's first appearance as a quiet test for the royal family. Every royal household went through emergency planning. Every important assistant was told about new ways to communicate. Every courtier was reminded of the updated chain of command. And in all that planning, one detail kept coming up in discussions: the question of how much formal presence Camilla's family would have at big events in the future. The answer, by the time William stepped out, was less than anyone in Camilla's circle had expected, much less. And the message was clear. That was the real plan being shown during the appearance, not the wave William didn't give, not the pause he refused to take, but the structure behind the moment, the decisions that had been made in private rooms over weeks and months about who belonged in this reign and who didn't. Kate moved with William because the decisions had been made together. Camilla's family stood silent because the decisions had been made without them. What King William's Britain will actually look like. So what happens next? What does the monarchy look like now that William has taken over? And what does his first appearance tell us about his future as king? Under the usual rules of who becomes king, William becomes king and his oldest son, Prince George, becomes the next in line to the throne. William is expected to be known as King William V, following 4 previous kings named William in British history. Kate becomes queen. She will first be called Queen Consort, but over time she is expected to simply be known as the Queen. Plans for the coronation have already started. Many sources suggest William's ceremony will be very different from his father's. Shorter, less fancy, more open to regular people. The days of a coronation meant to impress the public into obedience are basically over. William plans to run the monarchy more like a modern organization focused on being open, responsible, and having a clear goal. The time of hiding behind hundreds of years of tradition and hoping the public wouldn't ask too many questions is ending. Royal expert Afua Hagen has suggested that William may not take away Harry and Meghan's titles. She argued that he doesn't want that to be the most important thing he does as king, that such an action would make him seem petty, and that William's focus is on his charity work and building an important legacy rather than settling old arguments. Whether that prediction comes true remains to be seen. Some traditions will stay. William and Kate are traditionalists at heart. Events like Trooping the Color, which has celebrated the monarch's official birthday for over 260 years, will continue. The changes will focus on making existing traditions more useful rather than getting rid of them completely. As for Camilla, what role she plays going forward will be decided by William alone. Insiders say Charles made a final request that William give Camilla full access to palace privileges. Some sources claim Camilla herself helped create that arrangement. Whether William honors that request remains to be seen. And given everything we now know about his strategic way of leading, nothing will be guaranteed unless it first helps the royal family. The moment the world realized everything had changed, Camilla's family stood in silence because they understood what they were watching. Not just a continuation, not a familiar royal tradition. A complete fresh start, a new time, a king who makes decisions based on careful plans, not feelings. A queen who has already shown she can handle anything the royal family throws at her, and a couple whose idea for the monarchy looks almost nothing like the one Britain has gotten used to. Think about what that silence really meant. For decades, members of Camilla's extended family had watched the Windsors get closer and closer. They had gone to weddings, christenings, funerals. They had built connections with royal staff, with private assistants, with the people who actually run the palace every day. In one single appearance, they understood those relationships no longer guaranteed anything. The people who had helped them get into the royal world were now answering to a new king with very different goals. That is the kind of change that doesn't just alter one ceremony. It changes the entire way power works inside the palace. Inside the Wales household, sources describe a very organized, almost emotionless approach to the change. Decisions that would have taken Charles weeks to think about are being made in hours. Old arrangements, some of which had been in place for over 10 years, are being looked at very directly, which has surprised long-time staff. One senior assistant said the atmosphere was respectful but without sentiment. History alone, the assistant said, is no longer a reason for anything to continue. Tradition alone is not a reason either. Every rule, every special rite, every invitation list is being judged against one question. Does it still help the royal family in the way William wants to build it? For Camilla's family, that question has no good answers. Their role was built on being personally close to Charles. Their influence was built on soft power, on kindness, on the idea that decades of loyalty would be remembered and rewarded. William does not work with soft power. He works with clear goals, measurable results, and visible public benefit. Camilla's family's contribution to those areas, by William's standards, is small, and small contributions in the new reign no longer automatically come with the special rights they once did. Somewhere in Clarence House, Camilla has not yet been photographed at a big public event with the new king. Her absence has not been explained. Royal staff have not talked about it. Her family has not spoken publicly since the day of the appearance. And inside the rooms where decisions used to be made with her input, the conversations are happening without her. Quietly, carefully, and with the door closed.